Good morning, everyone. You are watching Barnstable This Morning. I'm Sarah Colvin. Joining me in studio, I welcome Ryan Castle, CEO, correct, of the Cape and Islands Association of Realtors. Good morning, Ryan. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Sarah, for having me.
So, going to do a kind of a roundup of what it's looking like, real estate statistics, Barnstable, Cape Cod. How are things going? How does it look
things
out
are
there?
still going well. We released the August statistics last week, and so you continue to see median price up a little bit, and that mainly is due to inventory being really down. About 2,400 homes for sale on Cape Cod, and that really is, lower. It's 800 less than we had last year at this time. So when you see year over year, that's kind of where you see that. And then you also have the aspect of people just aren't putting it on. But what I'm hearing is a lot of activity, so that's interesting. Sales were down a little bit, but pendings are way up, which means pending is something that's in the pipeline to be sold. As a sale, typically from the time you put an offer in to closing, typically takes 60 to 90 days. In fact, we're seeing some tick up a little more just because of the way deals happen. But yes, that 60, 90 days, so those pendings that go under contract in August, you'll see close September, October, even in November, and that's where you kind of will see those pendings end up closing. And so overall, we expect the year over year to end in 2016 with healthy gains, that 3 to 8% uptick in closed sales, that 3 to 8% uptick in median sales value, median sale price, which is a healthy, sustainable housing market. Now in the town of Barnstable, you have it really heavily up. So in the month of August alone, it was up 67% in closed sales.
Wow.
And year over year, you're at like 35% increase in home sales in the town of Barnstable.
Any reason as to why that keeps going up?
I would say probably it's where we keep talking about that 200,000 to 500,000 range is really what's moving on the housing market. And when you talk about that, that's your bread and butter for the town of Barnstable. There's a lot in that market, in the different villages in that price range, and so that's probably why I would guess. And also, it's a great place to live, isn't it?
It really is. It really is. I mean, I'm thinking about, my neighborhood in Hyannis, and we were in that kind of like low 2s to mid 3s neighborhood, and there's been a lot of activity, a lot of people buying homes, a lot of people doing improvements on those homes too, which is good for the neighborhood.
That's one bigger thing we have to talk about on Cape Cod is that we have a really aging housing stock, and we're going to have to see a lot of renovations to that housing stock because you get buyers that say, you know what, I don't have what I want. It's the HGTV syndrome.
I was just thinking that same thing.
They want that granite countertops, that renovated house, and you're not going to get that on Cape Cod.
Kitchen.
Yeah, Cape Cod charm,
right.
Right? Is what you're going to get. So either you're going to have to renovate it, or sellers might put some work in if they want to sell that house for what they want to sell it for.
Sure.
You might be able to get some return on investment, but that's why working with a realtor to talk to when you want to sell it, to say what kind of upgrades do I need to make my house more attractive, or are those upgrades going to be customizable and someone buying it should make those instead. But that's the kind of conversation based on your individual situation, your individual house, you should be talking to your realtor about.
Absolutely, and I'm really thinking about, there was a big housing boom, of course, in the 80s, where lots of kind of ranch homes, small capes, cul-de-sacs, those desirable neighborhoods, but I would think those are all built in the 80s, so they've got all kind of builder basic 80s bathroom fixtures, kitchens, etc., so things that might be a little bit more desirable if they were upgraded.
Absolutely, and I think we're seeing an influx of people that want to live on the Cape year-round, and they're not going to necessarily want the same fixtures and put up with something that somebody may be using it for 2 months or renting it out on a weekly basis may be able to stomach. If you want to attract, if you're in an area of Cape Cod where you think you can attract year-round home buyers, you're probably going to need some upgrades.
Absolutely. So in terms of kind of taking a look at the 2,400 homes for sale, are these that have length of time on the market is what I'm thinking about?
Yeah, so you have depending on the price range, depending on price point, it really varies. Our average home on the market, without having the stats at the fingertips, is probably, I would say around the 100 days right now. But you'll have some that linger a long time and some that don't. And let's be honest, there's probably a lot of price factors. A lot of people, when they go to price their home, they have a number in their mind, and that number sometimes is based on what they paid for it with some appreciation or even some nostalgic factor or some emotional attachment to a home. But listen to your realtor. You know, they're going to price it right what's in the market, and that's really the important thing, because I mean, you keep a home on the market for a year, it doesn't do any good. It doesn't do good for that realtor to see their sign in the yard for over a year that hasn't sold. It doesn't do you any good, because then it just stagnates the house a little bit and says, well, what's wrong with this house? It didn't sell. So you really need to price it right, and by pricing it right, you can only do that by working with someone who knows the market and knows what houses are priced at.
Sure. So if you had to categorize, would you say right now we're in a buyer's market or a seller's market?
I would say right now we're still in a seller's market because of the low inventory. And that's really where you should, if you're interested in maybe selling and you say, you know what, I don't still think the market's going to go up, it may, but check with a realtor, see what they would price your house at. I think people are being pleasantly surprised. I was just talking to one realtor this morning who said activity's so up from a lot of people wanting to see what their house would be priced at to sell, and then they're getting good results and listings because of it.
Absolutely. So if folks are kind of listening to this and say, maybe it is time for me to sell their house, can they come to you or to your staff at CCI?
Well, they can go to findacaperealtor.com, and that's really where you can find a realtor. You can find all these housing stats we're talking about. You can find we have great videos from Elizabeth Banks up there talking about the different steps of the home buying process for those that may have, haven't been part of it for 15, 30 years, or brand new first-time home buyers. She really explains it in an informative, unique, funny way. Only she can. And you can find, lenders there, attorneys there, everything like that.
Great. So find a Cape Cod Realtor.
Findacaperealtor.com.
Findacaperealtor.com. Great. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for stopping by, and
thank you, Sarah.
We will talk with you again in a month. Have a great day. Thank you, Ryan Castle, of course, CEO of Cape and Islands Association of Realtors. Again, at findacaperealtor.com. All the information you need. I'm Sarah Colvin.